some of the things I liked about science fiction the most were the robots. So the Jetsons had Rosie the robot, who was a home care robot that had AI, even though I didn't know it was called artificial intelligence. She acted like a person. She had personality, she had emotions. She wasn't perfect, but she could see, she could talk, she could move around. And the same with the robot on Lost in Space. They had a robot that could do some of the same similar things and had extreme intelligence. And I would dream about making or having a robot like that one day, but also all kinds of things I liked about rockets. I would try to design rockets, and my brother would get rocket kits, and we'd build those things. So yeah, science fiction I think opened up my imagination and gave me the dreams of what could be possible. So I get asked a lot, not because of my faith, but just because of what I do research in, is how can I do research in artificial intelligence if somehow AI and robots are going to take over the world and control humans one day? And that is spurred on by a lot of science fiction. And in fact, we have a program that's sponsored by the National Science Foundation, the National Robotics Initiative, where we're developing a culturally responsive humanoid robotics curriculum for underrepresented girls. And I'm working with a colleague at Arizona State who's an expert on culturally responsive pedagogy. And one of the things that she helps us bring out in our curriculum is that young ladies are defined by more than just their gender, but it could be their race, it could be their socioeconomic class, it could be their immigration status. And so what we end up doing in that curriculum, we let them see snippets of science fiction movies so that they can see how robots are kind of classified and how people give robots an identity that's a lot of time it's evil or they're out to no good. So there are issues on how the media portrays robots. But lately, as people have been asking me these things, it has driven me to think a little bit more about the ethics related to robotics, social robotics, policies related to robotics. I think what's happening is technology is moving faster than we are with our laws and our policies. And a good example is driverless cars. So we already have cars that are robotic in nature, that can drive by themselves. But now we have to start answering the question, who's responsible if that car is in an accident? What decision does that car have to make if they see like a little girl in front of them, but then they also see a bus on the left side and they see a cliff on the right side? So there's a lot of ethical issues related to that. And so one of the things that this is spurring me on is to take another direction in some of my research into looking at the policies and the ethics related to social robots, because these are robots that are going to work in close cooperation with people. And we do need policies. We need to build in protective measures in our technology so they don't take advantage of minorities, they don't take advantage of a certain gender, they don't take advantage of a certain social economic class. So yes, I think it's a good thing that I know about these things so I can use my faith to inform what's going to be good for people and help create technology and policy that's going to ensure people's safety and livelihood. That whole area of technology and how it's affecting society is, there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. And there's an author at MIT, she's written a book called, I think it's called Lonely Together, and she talks about technology. And I remember first seeing how, Steve Jobs changed the world when I started noticing going to the airport, several years ago and having people all stare down at their phones, and it was almost like they were praying. But yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed. I see, for example, virtual reality. people are really pushing for that, but they don't really know what virtual reality is going to be used for. And when there's no real purpose for it, it usually ends up being used for bad things, things that aren't going to be constructive, that are more destructive in nature. So one of the comments I made to Steve Jobs when FaceTime came out on the iPhone was that I really liked the fact that when I traveled, I could virtually tuck my daughter in bed and tell her a story and pray with her before she went to bed at night. And I could see her face to face, even though I was, hundreds of miles away. So I think the ability for technology to connect people is very valuable. I also believe the ability for technology to help people with illnesses or with injuries to be rehabilitated, or even now potentially having robotic limbs or legs to help them walk. I think those are the great things about technology. The definition of technology is something that can improve the human condition. And so I think anytime the human condition, whether that's health or something else, can be improved with technology, I think that's great.